Shop and job site storage, Husky, Hart, Milwaukee, and HDX. We've got them all. Let's see how they stack up. Alright, hey everybody, Texas Stroke here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. It is frigid out here. We are in the process of building a gantry crane and trying to clean up the shop and get things organized, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out process, but something we need to figure out is how we want to go about storing things. So some of these are brand new, I have no experience with, some I have used, and we're ultimately going to decide what we like best. So long story short, there's all kinds of stuff. I don't know why, but you know, like people have nails and they used to come in like cool little containers, and they started coming in brown bags when you get them in bulk, and the bags tear and the nails go everywhere. And then if people say bought a couple of brad nails to fix some furniture, and then they've got nails for fencing and all kinds of stuff, right? They all just get thrown together, and somehow I wind up with a lot of that stuff from other people. And you know, like I may need it at some point in time, so I don't want to throw it away, and it's, you know, it's already here and it's free, but it needs to be organized better. I've got it like in those little Tupperware containers, just typically what people give them to me. It's like a Sterlite, I don't know, shoebox type looking thing, but it's just filled with miscellaneous junk, right? Phone cords, nails, thumbtacks, the little dots that used to go on there like glass tables, and all that stuff, okay? Just random junk that might come in handy, and I want it organized good, right? So what I was trying to figure out, and again, I do have personal preferences in terms of aesthetics, but I also have a bigger preference for this stuff in terms of what does it cost and does it suck. So we want something that's good, not going to break the bank, and takes care of what we're trying to accomplish. So we've got a host of candidates here. 3 of these came from a Home Depot trek 2 weeks ago, because we just had the Antarctic shutdown. And, it's getting pretty cold out here, but we're going to start with the Husky, and the reason for that, this is the cheapest thing here. HDX, Husky was the cheapest thing. I was actually shocked. I was going to look at the Milwaukee stuff when I was in there and pick these up, because I've, spoiler alert, used these. And I happened to see this, and I thought, well, that's probably priced high. This was $9.97, which that's a pretty solid buy in my opinion. I'm not somebody that hates Husky. That's my big toolbox. That's my shelf units over here. I've got a lot of Husky stuff, and I haven't really had any problems with it. And as you can see, they're fairly confident with it. They've got a 2-year limited warranty on it. Speccing this thing out by their own information. 18-inch interlocking organizer. What interlocking means, if you're familiar with like the Packout craze everybody does, you can stack these on top of each other and they're going to stay in place. You can also kind of lock them. But let's see here, they're constructed of heavy-duty resin. They've got a folding handle. That might be a big deal for some of you. More on that later. The dimensions, this will save me from having to do it. 17, man, that glare. 17.8 inches wide, 11.5 inches long, 3.7 inches high. Okay, so basically coast to coast, we're going to call that 18 inches, hence the 18-inch interlocking organizer. I'll have these linked down below. Again, I make nothing from that. I do that for your convenience, and believe you me, if you're buying online from Home Depot, that is for your convenience. They really need to work on their website. So, at least in terms of searching for things and getting relevant results. But 11.5, that's basically here. So if you had a 16 deep shelf, this is going to fit fine. Roughly call it 18 by 12 if you want to. And then the height, which again, that's going to dictate how much crud we can fill in here, 3.7. So there are 10 removable bins in 2 sizes, and then there you can kind of see how it interlocks, right? So let's just go ahead and let's actually flip her this way, okay? Check this out. This is important. This is made in Israel, okay? We want to keep tabs on the country of origin. A lot of times you can't find that information online, and a lot of people want to know. So, folding handle, okay? That means you can make this compact. That handle takes up some space. It's super nice. I like it to be out, but if I was storing it, I might want it down, or I might need it down to, say, close a cabinet door. Now, The next big thing is going to be the latch. If you have a bad latch, it's going to be worthless to you, right? So we've got the Husky logo there. We've got a metal clasp, and it's easy to articulate, even with cold hands and doing it one-handed. So let's open her up, okay? The lid. This is something some of you may object to. It's kind of weird to me, but this one, the way it sits, at least here on the tailgate, not that bad. So I wouldn't call this 90 degree, I'd call this like 95 degrees. It's just past the 90 degree mark and it's not shutting on me. The last thing you want is, ooh, need a wire nut, and then the lid comes crashing down, right? That's a terrible situation to find oneself. Layout, what do we have? We've got 2 large or longer bins, I guess we should say, in the back, and then we've got 8 equal size smaller bins here in the front. Now, if I pull these out, the way this is done, looks like that's going to be polypropylene. Do these bins, I've never actually thought about that. They don't stack per se, but you could do something with them. Here at the base, there's basically just a lip that's going to divide these. So bottom line though, I don't actually work well. If you wanted these in the middle for whatever reason, or down at the bottom, you can do that. If you want both of these here, and then you want all the small guys, you can essentially customize it to your heart's desire. Okay, that's what we're trying to get across. Let's see here. It's not going to be easy to do this with one hand to measure all of these. And I was seriously considering going about the plastic and then weighing these. We might do that. That will require a tripod. But it's a silver bin. Let's actually get a good look at that for you, because I feel that is important. That could sway some opinions, because with the silver bin, okay, nails and screws is sort of a complementary color, but it's also a blend color. Do you want the aesthetic that's matching color, similar color, or do you want contrast? Would it be better if this was yellow, flaming solar yellow, and you could say like, oh wow, there's still 2 screws in there? You know, with the lids shut, and as these age and get dirty, you might glaze over that and be like, man, you know, I don't have a screw, got to run to the store. And if you just needed 1 and there were 3 in here, that's a buzzkill. All right, so $9.97 though. I have not used this. I have no experience with this particular style, but at that price point, it's a serious contender. Now, coming over here to the side, this is going to be a plastic latch, and if you note, it's not really going to catch anything here. It'll keep the lid, you know, from opening, but what it's designed to do is it would catch with another one on the base. For a perfect video, I would have bought 2 of these, but again, I'm trying to figure out what I like, so we're gonna leave it at that. Now, right here, the HDX. This was $11.97, and you're thinking, man, HDX cost more than that Husky? That was a pretty nice looking deal you just showed us. I would be equally shocked. I mean, I was honestly surprised when I saw that, opened it, and was like, wow, this isn't a piece of junk. It's cheap. But with this, the catch is, while it is cheaper, you get 2 of them, okay? So if I flip this up, there you can see we've got 2. HDX, let's just go by this packing before I cut it open. Customizable compartments, it's going to be more of like the Gador L-Box Mini. I think I may have had these in the Home Depot haul, I can't remember. Removable dividers, that's again what we just referenced. Interlocking slides, that's going to be here on the side. We'll keep the organizers tied together. And going by their dimensions, 14.7 wide, so roughly call that 15 from side to side. 11.4 long, so that's going to be, again, call it 12 inches, similar to what we had there. 2.6 high, so you're missing a little over an inch in difference between these, but for some of you, that may be a better option. Country of origin is going to be China. I think to save time, I might open these and then showcase them to you. So we're going to jump now to Hart. So we've got sub $10 for the Husky. We've got $11.97 for these, but again, it was 2 of them. And then the Hart, I want to say it was like sub $15, which again was surprising. And I had already ordered this before going into Home Depot. Part of my appeal to the Hart one was, 1, it could be shipped to me, I'm not going to lie. And 2, it was blue, because you should know I like blue. So I want you to pay attention to this. 100% inspected. There's no buy, no date, and there's a number down there that you think might coincide, even though it's printed. Okay. So I will also add, this thing came packed in a box, a standalone box specifically for this product, and it was actually really, really nice. Now, it's a little dressy over here. Unlike the plastic tab with the metal clasp, we've got sort of like an aluminum setup here. Now, it doesn't snap and come down like you would think, it just folds up. So your catch is actually going to be down here. Case in point, watch. That's it. You know, there's none of the compound action, if you will. The thing that bothers me about this one, you know, again, not having used it yet, is just, wait, does the handle fold? It was moving. I think I could knock the handle out if I wanted to. It does not fold, but see how it's on those rails right there? I think if we had to, or we hated it, we get rid of it. Now, obviously, it's going to be great to carry with the handle. The downside, that takes up space and it doesn't fold or collapse, so it could be an issue closing a cabinet door, getting it recessed on a shelf, you name it. Opening it up, okay? This is not quite as leaned back as the Husky, in my opinion. Again, what I want to avoid is that. I hate, even if it's plastic, I don't want a lid shutting on me, okay? I didn't actually know this was removable, so that's interesting. Now, this is actually designed pretty good. So we've got a peg there in the corner, 2 pegs in the middle, and a peg here. And the reason that's important, if you note and you look here again, polypropylene, but we're actually going to be able to tuck in and snap in place. I guess that's why this is a 9 compartment. That's what they call this. And I'm sitting here, you know, and it's like 3, 3, 6, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, what? I guess since this is one piece, they consider that the 9 compartments, really 11, in my opinion. I mean, let's not sell Hart short. You know, you've got the small one here, and then this one. So like if this was flashlights or cable ties, whatever you're doing, you know, picture your materials you're trying to store, and it's divided really well. And this is actually probably the strongest divider in here. If you looked at the Husky, which is HDX that's constantly in the way. Let me open it back up for you. Pay attention here. See how those, like, look at this, and then look at that. Look at this, and look at that. If you have your eyes trained like I do, this looks significantly more appealing because it's got a rolled edge, right? And I mean, case in point, you can see that there. That's got like something to grab onto. But it also, just like if this was sheet metal, if this just came up and then this was boxed and folded over on a break, this is going to be stronger. Okay, this looks stronger. This doesn't look as strong. When I come in and grab these, it's exactly like you think it would feel. Surprisingly rigid, I'll give it that, but it just sort of lacks, you know, the overall, I guess, I mean, just looking at them, you see the cathedral T supports, sort of like the broom upside down, okay? And then you look at this one, and it's just sort of got like the different edges, and it's sort of reinforced, you know, extra material type of a design. But looking at the lips, you would say, oh, you know, that looks a little bit sturdier. And in my opinion, it is. Now, the other important thing to contrast here, again, this is a bright blue. Some of you that may appeal to, some of you are going to love the silver. You know, we got Raiders fans out there. This is perfect for you, the Husky, and it's the cheapest one. But think about what you're storing, okay? If you're storing green thumbtacks, or you're building a kit for your wife, or you do RC car racing and you're going to put gears in here that are all red, that's going to show up really well in the gray. It's also going to show up really well in the blue. But again, come back to screws, nails, things along those lines, maybe some contact blocks. What is going to highlight it better? And that could play a factor for what you store and how well you ultimately like something. The other thing I can say, there's that ugly parting line there, and it's unfortunate. It's right in the flipping middle. Almost looks like somebody shot it with a BB, you know. This one has parts here, but, you know, it's more discreet. It's sort of like in the frosted section, for whatever that's worth. But pulling out the big bin, again, nothing crazy. It's just sort of extra material here and then folded over on the bottom. These just feel stronger, the Husky ones. They're more akin to what you have with Milwaukee. But again, depending on what you're doing with these, and keep in mind, this will hold wire nuts. You could fill that to the brim and it's not going to be an issue. Same here. Let's say that right here we want to put our collection of 1/13 by 4 inch grade 8 bolts. Okay, this container is a great dimension for it. They're going to fit. But when you try to pick that up out of there, that's a lot of weight. Would this hold up better? That's sort of the unknowns. We've got to use these to figure it out type of a thing, right? Now, coming in, I have to brag on the Milwaukee for 2 reasons. Okay, you know I'm not a huge fan of red or whatever. But when I went into Home Depot, I did not know that this particular size existed, and it was priced, I just pulled it up and it was $24. I want to say I got it for $20 or $22.97, but sub $25 regardless. I didn't know they had this. I thought everything was like the bigger Packout deal like I have at work, and apparently I was mistaken. So the reason I want to brag though isn't just because this was available and a little cheaper than I expected. As I was trying to fit the HDX in earlier, I had all these laid out because I decided I was going to go cheapest to most expensive, right? And this took a fall, and it went Milwaukee face up to Milwaukee face down. And if you look at it, nothing cracked. So that's a win. That's very important. This, I mean, the truck sits up a little bit. Let's also factor that in, right? So it's a 4-wheel drive off-road from the factory. That's a considerable distance. The shop vac is just dwarfed. It slides in under the bumper for great storage, right? So I don't intend to drop test these. That would be like something bad just happened in my life. This honestly fell, and it honestly didn't break. So I was pretty excited about that. Now, coming around, let's see here. We've got, that's your part number, and it's their, I think, 20-inch Jobsite organizer. Let's set this out here like we've done the others. So, most versatile Jobsite organizer. It's got mountable bins, full access while stacked. That's a perk if you wind up liking these. They say 20% more capacity. I'm not sure than what. Again, they're 48, 22, 80, 30. That's what you're going to want to reference if you want to pick one of these up. There gives you an idea. I'll give them credit here too. They at least give that for people to visualize what they could do with them. It seems kind of dumb, but at the same time, it might get them sales versus somebody not thinking, oh, well, that would be great for my nails. So very subtle, worthless in the long run, but is worth crediting where credit is due. So you'll note that this has a lot of overlap. You'll also see there's something black under there. This one's just built, in my opinion, to a little higher of a standard. I think these others could be done the same way, but this one actually is. And of course, it was the most expensive. I could get roughly 3 Huskies for the price of this one. You could get roughly 2 Harts, and you could get 4 total, 2 2-packs of the HDX. But let's come in. This has very, very similar, right, release to the Husky. And then we're going to lift this sucker up. It's almost the same as the Husky, I would say. We've not actually paid attention to the hinges. Note, as you know, I don't like plastic because plastic fails. It always does. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. That's why it's nice to see a metal pin. Coming to the Hart, another cost-saving maneuver. The pin does not go the full length of the organizer. Let's come to the Husky. This might be a subtle difference between these two. This has a pin full length for this side, full length for that side, but in the middle there's nothing. So if I had to say which lid is going to be the most robust, it would be the Milwaukee, followed by Husky, followed by Hart, and again, since I'm familiar with these, but we will look at them, HDX last. So the design of the Husky bin, let's grab this one. Just looking at the lids, right, and looking at the little step, you've got, a ledge here, 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 and here, 4 corners. it's pretty much the same thing, right? So the catch is when you take this out and we position this, and then we take this one, you can see, I mean, these are essentially kind of the same design. I feel this is a little heavier, but I think that's because it's a little bit bigger. And I mean a little bit bigger. But it's configured in the exact same way. We've got 4 small, 2 large. And if I take you back over here, same thing. Keep in mind, I told you could customize this to your heart's content. You can do that with the Hart as well. But here in the Milwaukee land, when we look down at the bottom, you'll see squares. In every one of these, you'll see 2 squares in the larger bins. Now, if we come back to the Husky, you don't see the squares, you just see the parting points. And down here, again, you just see that center divider, sort of to keep row 1, row 2, and row 3 separate. When we come in and we lift this, okay, there's nothing there. Okay, there's just a little track on the side. If I lift this one, we've got nothing. I was pretty sure. Okay, so it's these guys that get the reinforcement, the big ones. I made the assumption that all of these, okay, well there's 2 there, so that's good to know. So I'm not an idiot, I just didn't pull the front ones. That's what happened. And I can see now why, again, square, square, oops, and 2 squares there, coinciding with this. Very subtle things, but it will sort of keep them locked in place. And if you think, well, hey, why don't these have them? Which is, again, what I was just thinking, because I'd clearly only looked at the back 2. It's because there's a divider right there. Not the thickest, not the greatest, but it is a divider, and it allows you to sort these in this manner. So, the dimensions on this one, now that's something stupid. If they don't give us the dimensions here. Let's see. You go to all this trouble of putting together the flyer and actually having it on your product, and you don't give dimensions easily accessible. That's interesting. What is nice, though, is they tell us the size. 4x4, that's going to be our squares. 4x8, those will be your larger rectangular bins. And yeah, they literally don't give size. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Now, the other thing I told you kind of see some black. This actually has a gasketed lid, right? And I mean, you can see, if you look at the side profile, that's way out here. This is just the bare minimum, the Husky sort of bare minimum. This is the superior built product at this point in time, right? And it's survived a fall from the tailgate, which again is not the shortest thing in the world. Foldable handle, that's kind of a big deal to me just because I found that annoying. The Hart, for whatever it's worth, some people might dig that aluminum look to it. To me, it doesn't really matter. But I will say, it looks like the Milwaukee and the Husky, if they're not made in the same facility, one of them copied the other one, like to a T. It could be the same manufacturer and they just slightly tweak things based on what you want to, put into it and sell it for. But they're all roughly the same. I mean, looking at these 3, it's just the Hart kind of, 3-in-1, instead of having it organized like that. And then they have the big front tray. But the Husky and the Milwaukee, super similar, right? What I'm going to do is open these up and showcase that to you, and then we'll maybe take some measurements and weights. All right, so it is getting really cold, but we got this thing open, and I want to showcase this. I mean, this is cheap. This was $14 for 2 of them, so $7 a piece, which technically per unit is the cheapest, but you can't buy them individually as best I know. The way that works is this little slider tab. If I move that forward and come to the other side and replicate that, now they're free. Okay. Now, this is the only one that I have personal experience with. I have 2 of these, again, from another pair. I've had darts in one for I'm talking like throwing darts, It works really well for that. Again, super lightweight. All of your, wrenches, your ends, your ferrules, tips, everything fits in here, no issues. The downside to these compared to these 3 is this is a very, very heavily frosted front. And what that's going to mean is while you can look there and you might know like, oh, that's what I need, or yep, this is the container I need, you're not going to see it with any ease, right? All right, so opening this thing up, this is what we've got. It's important to note, total different design, total different construction here. You could say it's more similar to like a Plano tackle box, which again is great to store stuff in, but where you see black, that is fixed. That is non-user adjustable. Not the thickest walls, but surprisingly strong. Slightly different compartment sizes. You've got the two sort of big ones here. You've got equal length ones here. The middle one, though, slightly larger. So if there was some oddball stuff you wanted to store, you could do it. Now come back over here. Let's say you wanted to put 3-inch bolts here. You're going to be able to pick that out. The catch is this piece. Let's get that one out. Man almighty. That piece will come. So, I mean, you could open up a big area, but the catch is if you wanted to lay it out in this manner, note, I mean, like, I don't think that's even possible the way it's structured. So you would sort of be limited to adapting only the individual runners, and then if you want to pull these double length ones, you can do it, but you couldn't run them side to side per se. So you've got customization, yes, but it's also just a little bit limited. So putting it back together though, pretty easy. Again, it's super cold, and I have, like I said, used these for quite some time. No real issues with them, and again, I think a great value. It sort of depends what you're going to put in them, right? If this was for arts and crafts, I see no issues. Darts, given me no trouble over the years. My other one I've recently loaded down with like miscellaneous junk, you know, and it's fine, but it is certainly a different dynamic than you have with these others. Now, case in point, plastic latch, no metal pin. Looking at the back here, I think that's going to be plastic on plastic. Don't hold me to it. I'm pretty sure if I had my guess, that's what we would see. Again, these are made in China, and that's about what we have to say about those. So I think what we're going to do now is go a little bit more in depth on the Husky, Hart, and the Milwaukee. I don't think the tripod's tall enough to get you a good gander at what we've got, but I have all three of the big threes here, compartments. We're going to go outside dimensions just because it's going to be a little bit easier. So again, matching with what Milwaukee said, which is must be how they actually measure it, 4 inches. So do you have 4 inches inside? No, but edge to edge 4, this should read 8, and that is the case. So based on their own specs of 4x8, that's what we're going to run with when we measure these others. We'll go ahead and start with the Milwaukee's smaller one, which again should be 4x4. Man, this is a tight fit here, and I'm right up against the garage door. 4x4, 4x8 for Milwaukee. Let's take a look at Hart. Again, it's got a bow in it, but we're gonna make true as best we can. It would roughly be 4 inches as well. It's, you know, just not as promising. And then the catch is where Milwaukee comes in at 8 inches. This is going to be about 6 1/8, we'll call it. So 6 inches if you want to keep it simple. 4x8, 4x6. If I hold the camera here in a second, you'll easily be able to tell. Now, right here, we're going to come in. We're going to call that, geez, 4 1/4 on this littler Hart by, we'll just go ahead and call this 3 inches. Again, I know this is very hard for you to see. Let me just set these to the side. Maybe that'll work better. So to kind of recap Hart, where you can see it's 6 inches, 4 inches. So 4x6 versus 4x8. And then right here, basically 4 1/4 by 3, because again, 1/4 of an inch I feel like is worth denoting in these cases. Now coming to the Husky, let's go ahead and check it out. It's going to be 3. Okay, so that's 3 inches wide, and then the length on the sucker is going to be 8. So it's a 3x8 versus Milwaukee's 4x8. All right. Now Milwaukee was a 4x4 on their smaller ones. This is going to be a 3. I mean, just a little edge over 3x4. So the case though, is kind of your tipping point, because the Husky is 18 inches, side to side here, while the Milwaukee would be 20. That's where you're going to get your extra distance. But again, it's kind of going to come down to aesthetics. What are you putting in it? All that good stuff. Another thing that we need to make note of is depth. We're just going to go real rudimentary and call that 3 1/4, which I think matched up with their specs. As you should know, this should be identical. It is. Again, Black Widow, gotta love it for visibility in these videos. And then the Milwaukee, significant difference there. Again, I realize it's a little hard for you with the parallax and everything, but 3 3/4 depth. So having these side by side, I mean, you can kind of get what I'm talking about. It's about a 1/2 inch difference there. So if you needed to store just a few more flat washers, that's going to get it done for you. This should be identical, and it is 3 3/4 inch. Let's go ahead for a good measure and see what we've got going on in Heartland here. I will call that, we'll go with 3 1/4. I mean, it's a little bit above that, but I'd probably like some metric measurement, so we'll stick with 3 1/4. And on the big one, should have the exact same depth, and we do 3 1/4. So that's sort of our tipping points there. What I want to do now, since we had this out, we're going to come in, and this will give you a pretty good visual. I conveniently have this set for millimeters, and we're going to mic this. I've got a battery light flashing. So if I come in and we take a look at that, 1.74, okay, let's do Milwaukee. Again, we're going to go by the lip here, 6.1, and then obviously we can't get a good measurement there, but let's do the Husky, see what we've got, 5.17. So essentially, what we see is the Husky is very similar to the Milwaukee. The Milwaukee is just a little bit more robust. It's almost unfair, because I feel like maybe if we had a 20-inch Husky, maybe we'd jump up in the specs and, the quality. I'm not 100% sure there, so don't hold me to it, but it is a possibility. And I've got to say, I'm not really initially disappointed with any of these. I know a lot of you are sitting here and you're like, oh, that HDX is a piece of trash. Think about it though, you're getting 2 of them for 12 bucks, essentially, $6 a piece, if you will. And I have experience with them, and they do interlock. Think about what you're putting in them, because if it's lightweight stuff, those will be perfect. If it's going to be heavy stuff, if it's going to frequently be used, if it's going to be left outside, not so much. The Husky is very promising, and I mean, at 10 bucks for that sucker, like, let's get back into this mode. I realized there was one more thing I wanted to do. Battery light threw me off. Let's do this. Okay, real quick, the Hart. 48 grams for their small one, okay? Husky for their small one, 37. Wow, did not see that coming. Well, how about that? Now the Milwaukee 4x4, I'm thinking it's going to be a bit heavier, and it is at 53. So that's just sort of like a non-super scientific way of taking a look at this for you. And I think, honestly, I don't have any negatives in initial impressions here to say, aside from, like, I don't like the lack of a folding handle on the Hart, and I don't like the hinge construction on the Hart. Otherwise, I think it's going to be pretty good. Again, keep in mind, like, if I had to pick one of these to throw carriage bolts in, it's going to be the Milwaukee. If I had to pick one to put, tons of screws and nails in, it would be this one. But I'm also, I was honestly trying to get a good feel for all of these. I don't care which one I like better. If it's a deal where this little Hart is going to perform really well, that's fine by me. I'll continue to buy them. If the lid starts giving me trouble, it's gone. If the Husky performs just fine and the Milwaukee performs great, but these are primarily staying in the shop, not going to be thrown in the truck, not going to be out on job sites. Some of this, the really fancy lid, the gasket on it and everything to kind of waterproof it, the interlocking capabilities, all that sort of cool, but not necessary, right? And at $10, I think that's a pretty good deal. So ultimately what we're going to do, I'm going to populate these. Again, I'm just going to look at everything I've got, figure out where I think it would be best suited, make it happen. We're talking screws, nails, thumbtacks, tape, miscellaneous junk, paper clips, you know, shop supplies, AN fittings, hardware I actually use, you know, carburetor part, all kinds of stuff. As I mentioned, I do already utilize the HDX. I've got some Stanleys that are actually not that bad. And whenever we come back in with these populated and a little bit of use, we'll compare and contrast those others as well. I could also throw in some of my Plano stuff. But these are all out there, $10. I just feel like that's a steal, honestly. This is not bad, particularly if you needed something a little brighter for higher contrast. And then the Milwaukee, what I like about it is I didn't know they had something. It's not much smaller than what I have. That's usually like $35, but getting this for $25 for what I'm doing, like miscellaneous stuff, this is a really not a bad deal. But again, this is $10 more than the Hart, and the Hart is $5 more than the Husky. The Husky is just a stupid good buy, and it's super similar. So what I want to know from you is if you're using any of these, and this is the other deal. I want to know what you're using, how long you've used it, how it has held up, and ultimately what you think of it, if you'd recommend it, if one of these looks better or equally as good. And we'll leave it at that. Real quick, before my battery dies, I knew there's a reason I wanted to show you this. That's the 100% inspected on the Husky. And dadgum that glare. Note the number, 589355. This is buy and date. Look at the Hart. Okay, 100% inspected. Good Lord, focus, would you? 100% inspected, no buy, no date, 589355. Coincidence? I don't think so. And what's crazy, if you looked at the three of these, Husky, Hart, and Milwaukee, you would say, oh, well, you know, Husky was made in the same factory as Milwaukee. The odds of someone having this exact same sticker is just mind-boggling. And again, this is made in Israel, the Husky. Very, very, very interesting, is it not? But again, what I want to know from you, what are you using? How long have you used it? How is it holding up? If you're using Milwaukee, do you think, good Lord, that $10 Husky looks great? You know, are you going to try it? If you've bought the Hart and you've used it and it's held up for a year, it's total junk, let people know. Like I said, the next time you see these will be populated to some degree. Again, the goal is to organize and clean this place up. And I'm not going to make you sit through all that. We'll just come back and I'll say, hey, you know, this worked great for this. This was, the lid broke, you know, whatever. But right now, my initial impressions on all three, pretty solid. Obviously, I feel like this is the most robust. This, I'm a little concerned about the Husky again. Super steel in my opinion. And the HDX, although they're in sort of a lower tier than the three of these, I've had pretty good luck with them with what I've done. So I will quit rambling. I do hope you enjoyed. Maybe you learned a little something, found something you want to try out. Again, I make no money from any of this. I have all of this linked for your convenience solely. And you'll be seeing these in the not too distant future. So thanks for watching. LoneStarMopars.com is a website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three. You can find us at Lone Star Mopars. Something else, I gotta say it. If the Husky was in your favorite color scheme, if Milwaukee was available in blue, if Hart had red fillers, would that change anything for you? I mean, I can't tell you, like something of this build quality with the bright blue or even like a sublime green just for contrast. I get its branding, I get its, you know, like identity, but man, it would be nice, wouldn't it? Well, it's, with that said, it's super cold out here. I'm going to try to get a little bit more done before I head back in. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, share your thoughts. Make sure that you're subscribed if you want to be notified when we do other videos. But to really be notified, jump your truck across the creek, ring the bell, and maybe, just maybe, YouTube will keep you up to date. Otherwise, Saturday mornings, tools, shop equipment, and Wednesdays usually automotive. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I hope you have yourself a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you back here for more action from the shop.